Hello, this is Judy, and for the next hour, I will be reading from the July 27th, 2026 issue of the Toronto Star on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. I will do my best to pronounce all names and words correctly, yet please forgive me if I do not. And here is our first article, and it's under Canada. And the title is Why 1 in 10 Canadian ER Doctors Are Quitting and What It Means for Your Next Hospital Visit. CMAJ study of ER doctors cites burnout and a feeling that the healthcare system is broken. And this article is written by Omar Moshieh, Mosieh, who is a staff reporter. Emergency physicians are so burnt out that 1 in 10 is leaving the profession due to a prevailing sense that the healthcare system is broken, according to a new study. The study, published in the Canadian Medical Association Journal on Monday, pointed to a dysfunctional health system at both the government and hospital levels, unrealistic patient expectations for the role emergency physicians play in their treatment, lack of clinical support, and high patient volumes as potential sources of burnout. We found repeated references to the emergency department making up for system inadequacies, with fewer resources and little support, and the expectation that the situation will worsen, wrote study co-author Dr. Kirsten DeWitt, and that's DeWitt, an emergency physician at Kingston Health Sciences Center and a professor at Queen's University. For many, the future of emergency medicine was hopeless, with no possibility of recovery. The authors characterize attrition among emergency physicians as a crisis in the Canadian healthcare system, and the findings highlight a threat to patient care, with the authors noting that physician burnout creates safety risks and is associated with low quality care. The study surveyed 410 emergency medicine physicians in all provinces and territories except Yukon and Nunavut, and that's Nunavut. It found that 10% of respondents had left the specialty, 48% had reduced their clinical hours, and 20% had taken time off due to burnout. Dr. Catherine Varner, Varner, a deputy editor with CMAJ and an emergency physician at a downtown Toronto hospital, said her colleagues have been constantly burned out since 2020, and it's become the new normal even post-pandemic. Varner said overcrowding in hospitals is one of the biggest factors making emergency physicians feel like it's increasingly difficult to do their jobs. The study reports extreme high patient volumes and long wait times, resulting in assessments being done in corridors and waiting rooms, leading to substandard care. Doctors report gaps in primary care that make it difficult to follow up with patients, as well as reduced access or long wait visits to see a specialist. They said they rarely were equipped with the appropriate support and resources to resolve root issues, which contributes to poor job satisfaction. When you have that super sick patient, not having a place to put them is super stressful. Sometimes you feel like you're shuffling deck chairs, Varner said. It is difficult to see that you're helping people or you're not able to provide them the standard of care that all people living in Canada deserve, she added. That's when people experience burnout, injury, and leave the profession. The data aligns with findings from other recent studies, such as the Canadian Medical Association's National Physician Health Survey that found similar rates of burnout, and a Canadian Institute for Health Information report that said wait times for patients in emergency departments have increased annually and that patients often leave without seeing a physician. The new CMAJ study found that women and younger physicians reported higher rates of burnout. Respondents said they perceived unrealistic social expectations around emergency care, including patients expecting emergency physicians to treat stable conditions that would more appropriately be addressed by a family doctor and help with social issues such as housing or home care. They said they felt neither qualified nor trained to address these issues and were sometimes blamed by patients for systemic problems in healthcare. Varner said one of the most concerning findings is the depersonalization among emergency physicians, or a feeling that they need to separate their feelings from their work just to survive their shift. As a patient, I would want my emergency provider and physician to deeply care about what's happening to my health. And across the board, what we're seeing is a trend towards physicians feeling like they can't because they have no ability to control the system that they're working in. The situation has grown more dire with Canada's aging population and patients presenting with increasingly complex conditions, as emergency physicians are forced to do more with less. The authors are calling on governments and institutions to prioritize fixing gaps in patient care, invest in geriatric emergency care, and expand non-healthcare staffing to help meet patient social needs. Without thoughtful and intentional action by provincial and national leaders, access to 24-hour emergency care in Canada is at risk, Varner wrote in a related CMAJ editorial. Preventable tragedies will continue to occur in our waiting rooms. And Omar Moshi is a Toronto-based reporter covering social issues for The Star. You can reach him at his email, which is OMARMOSIEH@THESTAR.ca. Our next article is titled Federal Government Grounds Billy Bishop Airport Expansion. The just concluded public survey suggested strong public opposition to the project, according to a federal government official. And this article is written by Ryan Tumulty of the Ottawa Bureau. The federal government is grounding the proposed expansion of Billy Bishop Airport after public consultation showed Torontonians are overwhelmingly against the idea. A Transport Canada public survey on the airport expansion closed Friday and revealed public opinion was solidly opposed to the expansion. In a statement, Transport Minister Stephen McKinnon, and that's MacKinnon, said Friday evening that the feedback had raised a wide range of concerns about the plan and the government was listening. And here's his statement that he wrote, Stephen McKinnon, and it's my statement on Billy Bishop Toronto City Airport. And I can only read part of it, yet it says, Billy Bishop Airport is a critical part of Canada's air transportation network located in the heart of Toronto's waterfront community. As we ensure its future as a vital transportation, economic, and tourism hub for Toronto, it is important that we do it with and for Canadians. For instance, the airport recently opened a state-of-the-art customs pre-clearance facility supported by $30 million of federal investment. At this stage, I can confirm that our focus lies exclusively on the improved safety enhancements which are currently taking place and are required to maintain safe operations at the airport. They are expected to be completed in mid-2027. Toronto Voices will shape any future for Billy Bishop Airport. Through this public consultation, we have listened to feedback on a range of issues, including transportation, economics, environmental protection, noise, housing, and quality of life. We will always work collaboratively with our partners in studying the region's connectivity needs and protecting the interests of local residents. However, we will not pursue any plans that infringe on treasured public spaces like Little Norway Park or Hanians Point Beach, result in elevated noise, has significant environmental impacts, or hinder Toronto's ability to build much-needed housing. As we received more than 87,000 responses, I want to thank my Toronto caucus colleagues, caucus colleagues, and the Canadians who participated in this consultation process for their vital contributions supporting safe, efficient, and sustainable operations at Billy Bishop Toronto City Airport. It is not just about what we build, but how we build. We are building with and for Canadians, and it is signed by the Honorable Stephen McKinnon, PC, MP, Minister of Transport, Leader of the Government in the House of Commons. And the article continues to say we will not pursue any plans that infringe on treasured spaces like Little Norway Park or Hanlan's Point Beach. Resulted in elevated noise, has significant environmental impacts, or hindered Toronto's ability to build much needed housing, he said. It is not just about what we build, but how we build. We are building with and for Canadians. Until earlier this year, Billy Bishop had been governed by a tripartite agreement composed of the city, the Toronto Port Authority, and the federal government. Ontario Premier Doug Ford announced the planned expansion in March and passed legislation taking over the city's role, but the agreement requires all parties to be on board with any proposed expansion. The Ford government's legislation passed in May, removing the City of Toronto from the agreement and giving the province control of the city-owned land that is part of the airport. Transport Canada launched a public consultation in June to solicit feedback on the proposal. The data from the Transport Canada survey was still being tabulated, but the Star has learned that roughly 87,000 people participated, with 80% of responses coming from the City of Toronto and a further 15% from the region. Among those who participated, 87% opposed any changes to the airport. The airport still requires an expansion for safety reasons, after Transport Canada forced all Canadian airports to expand their runways to allow a safety buffer for planes that overshoot their landings. McKinnon said, at this stage, those safety-related expansions would be the focus, and emphasized the government would want to hear from residents about any other possible improvements. Toronto Voices will shape any future plans for Billy Bishop Airport, McKinnon said. Ontario Transport Minister Prabhat Sarkaria, and that's Sarkaria, took the rejection as a delay rather than a cancellation. We look forward to continuing to work to advance the expansion of Billy Bishop Airport. The benefits are clear. The project will contribute up to $8.5 billion to Canada's economy every year, create thousands of jobs, and improve connectivity for millions of travelers and businesses across Ontario, North America, and beyond, he said in a statement. A senior official in the Toronto government who spoke on background because they were not authorized to speak publicly felt McKinnon's statement still left the door open for future expansion. I don't view this project as grounded. Carney called the proposal an interesting vision with big possibilities when it was first announced. But last month he said he would only say that he had not formed an opinion, as several Toronto MPs expressed concerns about the project. All but one of Toronto's MPs are Liberals, and one of them, Spadina Harbourfront MP Chai Nguyen, Nguyen, said in a statement last month that she opposed any plans that put Little Norway Park, the Toronto Islands, or other community spaces at risk. My position is straightforward: protect the park, protect the islands, protect the beach and Lake Ontario. Prove the economic case and consult Toronto before any decisions are made, the statement said. On Friday night, Mayor Olivia Chow thanked McKinnon and Prime Minister Mark Carney for listening to Torontonians. Thank you to everyone who spoke out, shared your voice, and stood up for our community. Your relentless advocacy has made a difference, she said in a statement. She also called for the Ford government to give back the land. Now that this expansion is not moving forward, We are calling on the province to return the city's land, she said. This is the second time a federal Liberal government has scuttled expansion of the airport. Justin Trudeau's government shut down any talk of a possible expansion after his first government was elected in 2015. And Ryan Tumulty is an Ottawa-based reporter covering Parliament Hill. You can reach him at his email, which is rtumilty @ thestar.ca. Our next article is under federal politics, and the title is Private Billing Law for Doctors Threatens Universal Healthcare, Critics Charge. Alberta's Health Statutes Amendment Act could create a dual practice framework, allowing physicians to provide publicly insured care and privately paid services. And this article is written by Rasha Patel, Patel, of the Ottawa Bureau. The federal government's reluctance to weigh in on an Alberta law that could expand private health care is becoming entangled with Ottawa's aversion to fueling separatist sentiment in the province, health advocates charge. Alberta's Health Statutes Amendment Act became provincial law late last year and would, in its most controversial application, create a dual practice framework allowing some physicians to provide publicly insured care while also offering certain privately paid services. When your physician refers you to a surgeon, you'll be given an appointment 6 to 8 months down the road. And if a patient calls and is willing to pay 4 times as much as the surgeon would get paid from the government for that service, they can get a booking within a week or two, said Dr. Braden Manns, and that's Manns, a physician and professor of health economics at the University of Calgary. If a surgeon can get paid 4 times as much in the 4-pay system, they're going to prioritize their time there, and that's going to mean less of their time is available in the public system. I mean, this is the essence of a 2-tiered health plan. But the current government's hesitation to take a position on the law, which has yet to be fully implemented but has sparked concerns about potentially breaching the Canada Health Act, may reflect its unwillingness to pick a fight with a province preparing to decide whether it should remain in Canada, Mann said. The government doesn't want to inflame the small proportion of voters who might be willing to vote yes in the separatist referendum, the kidney specialist said. Personally, I think they should also be worried about all of us who are going to vote against separatism, and that they should be considering what we want as well. Alberta's law, also known as Bill 11, was the focus of a campaign mounted by the Canadian Health Coalition last month in Charlottetown, where the country's premiers and Prime Minister Mark Carney convened. The message, said Stephen Staples, the group's national director of policy and advocacy, was to encourage Alberta Premier Danielle Smith not to go to the route of the 2-tier U.S.-style healthcare, and to urge Ottawa to ensure the law doesn't inspire other provinces to follow suit. I don't think it's news to anybody that the federal government is watching the separatist movement, and that this is a context in which everything about Alberta is being viewed, Staples said. The Liberal government hasn't tied its silence on the law to Alberta's separatism, which will go to a vote this fall when Albertans decide whether a binding referendum on separation should be triggered. Key details about how the law will work in practice were left up to regulations, some of which were recently released. Physicians approved to offer procedures under the dual model can begin to do so this fall. The initial rollout primarily captures non-emergency surgeries like orthopedic procedures, which would be conducted for now in private facilities rather than public hospitals. Health Canada is taking the time to review the regulations carefully and engage with Alberta officials to better understand their components and potential impacts before they are implemented. A spokesperson for Federal Health Minister Marjorie Michel, Michel, wrote, Albertans care deeply about protecting the integrity of the public health care system, and we are listening to those concerns. The Government of Canada will always uphold the Canada Health Act and protect Canada's universal public health care system, including access to care. The Alberta government has remained adamant that the law doesn't contravene the Canada Health Act, which sets out the conditions provinces must meet to receive federal transfer payments for health care. Those conditions include prohibitions on extra billing by physicians and user charges for insured health services, giving Ottawa the ability to deduct transfer payments if principles are violated. The Canada Health Act does not prohibit private practice operating outside of the publicly insured system. A spokesperson for Alberta Hospital and Health Services Minister Adriana LaGrange wrote, the Smith government has argued that the dual practice model would boost surgical capacity and reduce wait times, while safeguards would be put in place to ensure eligible physicians still work a certain number of hours in the public sphere. Not everyone is sold on Alberta's insistence that its legislation respects federal law. Bill 11 does contravene the Canada Health Act. There's no doubt about that. Veteran Liberal MP Hedy, and that's Hedy, Fry, told the Star, and that's FRY. That doesn't mean the Carney government should immediately withhold funding, said Fry, who practiced family medicine in BC before becoming a member of Parliament. I don't know if you will notice that this government is trying to work with provinces in a different way, Fry said. Can we talk? Can we talk, see how we can make the Federation work? How we can discuss with provinces what are the issues they're finding troubling? And how can we find a way to resolve them in a manner that continues to agree with the rule of law? Excuse me. In early July, the Canadian Health Coalition had the law firm Goldblatt Partners review Bill 11 and some of its regulations. In our opinion, the two-tiered structure for the provision of medical services created by Bill 11 cannot and will not be cured by the regulations announced by the Alberta government. Even if these regulations are ultimately implemented, the legislation will continue to contravene the core principles of the Canada Health Act, wrote Greenblatt's Emma Phillips. Heather McPherson, and that's McPherson, the NDP Seoul, Alberta MP, said she's been wondering why the Carney government has yet to speak up. I've thought about this an awful lot. One reason is that he doesn't want to ruffle feathers because of the separatist movement, McPherson told the Star. But anyone from Alberta will tell you that protecting our public health care system, showing that Canada, the country, the nation, the Federation, the Confederation works for Albertans, is one of the best ways to ensure that Albertans recognize the value of being part of Canada. And Rasha Patel is an Ottawa-based reporter covering federal politics for the Star. Our next article is in the Canada section, and it's under British Columbia. Residents of 70 Mile House, BC, told to get ready to leave as wildfire looms. And this is by the Canadian Press. Residents of 70 Mile House and surrounding areas have been told to get ready to leave their homes ahead of a planned evacuation due to an advancing wildfire. The Thompson-Nicola Regional District posted a notice on its Facebook page that the projected growth of the Pierre Lake blaze north of Clinton, BC, set the plan in motion, and the evacuation order would be issued at 10 a.m. The blaze that destroyed structures, including homes, on the outskirts of Clinton on Friday, merged the next day with another blaze north of the community. The latest mapping by the BC Wildfire Service shows the estimated combined size of the Pear Lake and 59 Creek fires was nearly 670 square kilometers. The roughly 250 square kilometer French Bar Creek fire also continues to burn to the northwest. The blazes have prompted a series of evacuation orders and alerts for remote and residential areas in the South Caribou. There are 140 wildfires in BC, with more than 50 out of control. Air quality warnings due to wildfire smoke remain in effect for much of BC's central and southern interior, as well as the Lake George and Fort St. John areas. And this report by the Canadian Press was first published July 27, 2026. And you are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Toronto Star on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The title of our next article is Deadline Fast Approaching for Canadians to File Claim in Class Action Drug Suit. Canadians have until August 27th to file a claim for their share of a $4.75 million settlement over the drug Rexulti. It's Rexulti, which is used to treat schizophrenia and depression. And this article is by the Canadian Press. The deadline is fast approaching for Canadians to claim their share of a multi-million-dollar class action lawsuit over the drug Rexulti. Canadians have until August 27th to file a claim for their share of the $4.75 million settlement over the antipsychotic medication used to treat schizophrenia and depression. Quebec Superior Court approved the settlement in November, 1 year after authorizing the national class action against Otsuka, and it's OTSUKA, Otsuka, Canada Pharmaceutical Incorporated, and Lundbeck, and that's LUNDBECK, Canada Incorporated. The class action covers Canadians who were prescribed the drug since February 2017 and later developed compulsive behaviors or impulse control disorders such as gambling, shopping, or binge eating. Lawyers representing affected patients and families have said the deal is a compromise with no admission of liability. Applicants could receive anywhere from roughly $6,500 for mild cases to more than $102,000 in more severe cases. And this report by the Canadian Press was first published July 27th, 2026. Our next article is a Star investigation. The title is This Sex-Themed Online Casino Targeted Ontarians Without a License. It has now been shut down. Sorry for that delay in pronouncing that word. And this article is written by Emma McIntosh, McIntosh, who is an investigative reporter. A sex-themed gambling website that was open to Ontario customers in apparent violation of provincial rules has shut down after an investigation by the Star and its international media partners. The online casino Only Spins had no Ontario license but allowed customers in the province to place bets in order to earn explicit photos and videos. In mid-July, weeks after the investigation highlighted the site, a notice appeared on its homepage telling players it is no longer accessible. The cross-border investigation led by Investigate Europe in collaboration with news outlets in 15 other countries, found Only Spins was one among a vast network of online casino sites linked to gambling company Soft2Bet, and that's SOFT2, the number 2, BET, and its associated entities. Many have been registered offshore and blacklisted by European regulators for operating without local licenses. Some of those sites also targeted Canadians despite having no authorization to operate in any province or territory. In 2022, Ontario launched a regulated marketplace that required a license for entry. Licensing was a key component to protect bettors, the government said. Unlicensed gray market betting sites often expose consumers to a greater risk of harm, with practices that can exacerbate addiction or facilitate criminal activity like money laundering and match fixing. Ontario and Ireland regulators launched probes. A soft-to-bet site, TooniBet, and that's TOONIEBET, got one of those licenses, but the Star had found more than 20 other soft-to-bet link sites, including Only Spins, that were open to customers in the province but not licensed to do so. The parent company did not respond to questions from the Star and its partners for the story, but has previously denied wrongdoing, saying that the investigation had an incorrect and misleading interpretation of its business. Soft2Bet also said that it responsibly operates according to regulations. The shutdown of Only Spins comes as regulators in Ireland say they have launched a probe into more than 100 websites linked to Soft2Bet. 6 gambling websites run by the company hold licenses to operate in Ireland, while other Soft2Bet link sites that are unlicensed in the country also target gamblers there, according to analysis by the Irish Times and Investigate Europe. We are investigating each of these websites with a view to enforcement action, the Gambling Regulatory Authority of Ireland said in a statement. We will use every tool at our disposal to combat and disrupt illegal activity. The Irish probe is the second to be announced in recent weeks. Last month, after the Star set its initial findings to Ontario's Alcohol and Gaming Commission, which is the AGCO, for comment, the regulator said it was opening an investigation. The AGCO declined to comment on the status of its investigation, which it said is ongoing. Only Spins did not verify users' ages and had been blacklisted by regulators in Poland, Italy, and Greece. This spring, a Star reporter easily set up an account and placed bets on the site using a fake name and Toronto address. Soft2Bet linked sites open to underage players. At Only Spins and 2 other Soft2Bet linked online casinos without Ontario licenses, customer support told the Star reporter, who was posing as a gambling addict, that they lose their winnings if they deactivated their accounts. The practice appeared to violate Ontario guidelines meant to protect vulnerable bettors. The site also allowed users to set their language to Canadian English and transact in Canadian dollars. It did not verify the reporter's identity, meaning it was open to underage players and gambling addicts who have self-excluded from the province's registered online and in-person casinos. Soft2Bet's licensed TooniBet brand launched in Ontario in 2024, 2 years after the province rolled out its regulated online gambling market. It soon boasted a library of thousands of games and recorded steady growth, landing splashy partnerships with the Canadian Football League and the Ottawa Senators that would raise its profile among sports bettors. More deals with sports teams and leagues followed as the company eyed expansion to Alberta. TooniBet has since registered to operate in that state's province's new regulated online gambling system, but has not yet opened to users in the province. Another Soft2Bet linked betting site is also shutting down. In an email to users this month, the Harry Potter themed Betwarts, and it's BETWARTS, said it would close on July 31st, though it may be relaunched later under the new ownership of a company based in Bulgaria. The company mentioned in the email does not appear to be listed in Bulgaria's corporate registry. Soft2Bet did not answer questions about the transfer, And this article was written with files from Mark Teague, Tighe, of the Irish Times. And Emma McIntosh is a reporter on the Toronto Star's investigative team. You can reach her at her email, which is emcintosh @thestar.ca. Our next article is under the sports section, and the title is Canada's Fontaine Carol Doshi claimed gymnastics gold medals at Commonwealth Games. And this article was written by the Canadian Press. Leah Monica Fontaine, and that's Fontaine, Jordan Carroll, and that's Jordan, and Felix Dolci, FELIX, captured gold as Canadian gymnasts racked up 6 medals at the Commonwealth Games on Monday. Fontaine scored 14.000 in the women's vault to beat England's Abigail Martin, 13.799, and Wales' Abigail Roper, 13.433. The 16-year-old from Salaberry de Valleyfield, Quebec, earned her 3rd medal of the Games after taking bronze in the all-around final and helping Canada claim silver in the women's team event. Carroll, a 20-year-old from Saskatchewan, won the men's pommel horse title with a score of 15.000 to edge Scotland's Ruben Ward, 14.966, and Cameron Lynn, 13.833. Doshi capped the day with the gold in the men's rings final for his 3rd medal of the Games. The 24-year-old scored 13.766 to edge fellow Laval, Quebec native William Amard, and that's EMARD, 13.600, as Canada finished 1-2 on the podium. Australia's James Hardy took bronze with 13.500. Canadian veteran Ellie Black of Halifax added silver in the women's uneven bars 1 day after winning her 2nd career Commonwealth Games all-around title. Renee Cournoyer, and that's Cournoyer, of Repentigny, and that's Repentigny, Quebec, also earned silver in the men's floor exercise. Elsewhere, weightlifter Rebecca Groulx, Groulx, of Saint Bruno de Montarville, Quebec, won bronze in the women's 53-kilogram event. And this report by the Canadian Press was first published July 27, 2026. The next article is in the business section, and the title is Plush Red Dragon Flies Off Toy Store Shelves After Blue Jays Homer. And it says, for years, Simply Wonderful Toys has stocked a plush red dragon on a stick. The toy has a light-up flame coming from its mouth and a mighty roar, and was a reliable seller with a few getting scooped up annually. And this article is written by Tara Deschamps, and that's Deschamps of the Canadian Press. Okay, so for years, Simply Wonderful Toys has stocked a plush red dragon on a stick. The toy has a light-up flame coming from its mouth and a mighty roar, and was a reliable seller with a few getting scooped up annually. But in early July, the GUELP, GUELP, Ontario store and many other Canadian toy shops sold out of the dragon overnight. Driving the unexpected surge in demand was an unlikely source, the Toronto Blue Jays. The Major League Baseball team celebrated left fielder Jonathan Clases, and that's Clase, three-run homer against San Francisco with the Red Dragon on July 7th. By the next morning, stores that stocked the toy had been cleared out. Keely C, and that's CEA, an assistant manager at Simply Wonderful Toys, said the few the shop had in stock were bought in the wee hours of the morning. We had no idea what was going on, she said. Then we saw the video of the game and realized that it was the same dragon that we had been selling for years. so it was kind of a shock. The store has requested more from Schilling, and that's Schylling, the Massachusetts based manufacturer, which did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the Dragon's recent popularity. When the restock does arrive, C says Simply Wonderful Toys already has a wait list of people wanting one. Some are from local baseball teams looking to celebrate with their own dragon. Lifelong Blue Jays fan Adiria Winegust, and that's ADIRA WINEGUST, went in search of the dragon soon after spotting it with Clace. I thought, oh my God, I have to get this now, recalled the Kingston, Ontario mother of 3. There's one independent toy store, and they were sold out already. But with some sleuthing, I found out that there was one in Ottawa. A friend visiting the capital city agreed to scoop it up, hiding the $40 dragon from her own kids on the journey back, so they wouldn't be jealous. Winegust's younger children have since been playing with it at home, while her eldest, 8-year-old Emmett Glatt, Glatt, lent it to his baseball team. Their mom bought the dragon just in time. Most online retailers' websites show that they have completely sold out, and the few available on resale platforms are going for as much as $200. Toytown in Toronto is one of the few places with the dragon still in stock. Owner Sherry Bricks says her store sold out of the handful of dragons she had after the Jays debuted the toy. It recently restocked, but only has 6 left. It's calmed down a little bit, but when people see them in the store, they'll comment. And if they have a loved one that they know would love it, they'll pick it up, Bricks said. The Jays reportedly got their stuffed dragon from Just for Fun, a San Francisco toy shop a short walk from their hotel. Hitting coach David Hopkins is said to have bought the toy because it represented fearlessness. With the Jays having lost many of their recent games, the dragon hasn't been seen much since July 7th. The Blue Jays need all the help they can get, Bricks said. The more dragons out there, maybe the better luck they will have. And this report by the Canadian Press was first published July 27th, 2027. Our next article is titled Ottawa Lends Miller Western Lumber $100 million to cope with tariff impacts. And this article is by the Canadian Press. The federal government is extending a $100 million loan to help a lumber company in Western Canada cope with tariffs and trade uncertainty. Finance Canada said it's offering the funds to Miller Western Lumber Products, a company operating 3 lumber mills across Alberta and British Columbia, to help the company with near-term needs like rebuilding its log inventory. Canada's forest sector has been hit directly by steep U.S. tariffs, but Finance Canada also says the domestic softwood lumber industry is struggling under the weight of global trade disputes. Miller is primarily an exporter and employs some 420 workers and supports hundreds more through maintenance and consulting work. Ottawa says the loan will help the company protect those jobs and adapt to changing market conditions. Miller, and that's Millar, is one of just a handful of companies which have received money through Ottawa's Large Enterprise Tariff Loan Facility, or faculty, a $10 billion fund that's also helping Ontario's Ogama, and that's OLGOMA Steel, retool its products away from customers in the United States. And this report by the Canadian Press was first published July 27, 2026. Our next article is an opinion article, and the title is Before You Buy It, Ask Yourself This One Back-to-School Question. And this article is written by Leslie Ann Scorgie, a contributing columnist. And Leslie Ann Scorgie is a Toronto-based personal finance columnist and a freelance contributing columnist for The Star. Back to school shopping has become one of the biggest spending events of the year for Canadian families. Between the tech, running shoes, backpacks, lunch gear, fall jackets, and a wardrobe to replace everything your child outgrew over the summer, it's easy to spend hundreds, if not thousands, before the first school bell rings. The challenge is that many families are approaching this school year under financial pressure. The cost of groceries, housing, and other essentials has left less room in the budget, yet parents naturally want to give their children the very best start. That's a difficult combination, and it's why back to school shopping can quickly become emotional spending instead of intentional spending. That's why I rely on what I call the 10 wear rule. Before buying almost any back to school item, ask yourself one simple question. Can I confidently picture this being worn or used at least 10 times? If the answer is yes, it's probably a thoughtful purchase. If you hesitate, it may be worth putting it back on the shelf. The goal isn't to buy less, it's to buy better. Spending less is often just the happy byproduct. Excuse me. The 10 wear rule isn't about predicting the future perfectly. It's about slowing down long enough to separate excitement from value. Once you learn it, you'll start using it everywhere. Start with the everyday essentials. Every child and teen needs a solid foundation: comfortable shoes, everyday clothing, a reliable backpack, and the basics they'll reach for again and again. These are the purchases that earn their keep because they'll be used week after week. That doesn't necessarily mean buying the cheapest option. Spending a little more on quality often makes sense when an item will be used dozens or even hundreds of times throughout the year. Before checking the price tag, picture your child wearing or using the item during the first month of school. If you can easily imagine 10 occasions, it's probably worth buying, and it may even be worth paying a little bit more for better quality. The same thinking applies to technology. If a laptop or tablet will be used almost every day in school, it will easily exceed the 10 wear rule, making it one purchase where investing in quality can make sense, even if that means buying a certified refurbished model instead of the latest release. A gently used device can easily deliver hundreds of school days of value at a fraction of the cost. Before replacing a device, ask whether a new battery, protective case, or software update could give it another school year. Sometimes a $100 repair can delay a $1,000 purchase. Trend alert. Every school year seems to have its must-have items. Maybe it's the trendy sneakers everyone is wearing, the character backpack that they feel old by October, or the $45 water bottle that's suddenly all over social media and somehow destined to disappear before Thanksgiving. Some trends are worth embracing, others lose their appeal, or simply get lost almost as quickly as they arrive. The 10 wear rule helps separate genuine favorites from impulse purchases fueled by excitement or peer pressure. Excuse me. Try asking your child where they expect to wear or use the item 10 different times. If neither of you can answer confidently, consider waiting until after the school year starts before buying it. The trend might just wear off that fast. Build outfits, not shopping bags. One of the easiest ways to overspend is buying individual pieces that don't work with anything already in the closet. Instead, think about outfits by starting with the clothing your child or teen already has and that still fits. Can those new pants be paired with 3 different tops already in the wardrobe? Do those socks work for school? Do those shoes work for school, weekends, and family outings? The more ways an item can be used, the more value it delivers. Before heading to the store, take a quick inventory of what still fits. Buying to complement what you already own is almost always less expensive than starting from scratch. Need inspiration? Snap a few photos of your child's wardrobe and ask an AI assistant to suggest a week's worth of outfits using only the clothes they already own. It's a surprisingly fun way to rediscover pieces that had been forgotten in the back of the closet, and it helps kids see that new isn't always necessary. Saying no when you need to. The hardest part of back to school shopping isn't usually choosing between two backpacks. It's telling your child no when everyone else seems to have the newest shoes, phone, or water bottle. If your budget can't stretch that far, don't apologize for it. Explain your family's priorities instead. Excuse me. Children may not like the answer in the moment, but they benefit from understanding that every family makes spending decisions based on its own values and budget, not someone else's. Children don't need parents who will keep up with every trend. They need parents who will make thoughtful financial decisions even when those decisions are unpopular. This rule works all year. Although back to school is a perfect time to put the 10 wear rule into practice, it doesn't stop in September. It works just as well when you're buying winter boots, holiday outfits, kitchen gadgets, camping gear, home decor, sporting equipment, or even that jacket you've been eyeing online. Every purchase deserves one simple question. Can I realistically see myself using this at least 10 times? If the answer is yes, buy it with confidence. If not, you probably just saved yourself money you'll never miss and avoided adding one more forgotten purchase to the back of the closet. The next time you're standing in a store wondering whether something belongs in your cart, don't ask whether it's on sale. Ask whether it's going to earn its place. If you can confidently picture 10 wears or 10 uses, you'll rarely regret bringing it home. The title of our next article is Carney Calls August By-Elections for 3 Seats in Ontario, Quebec, and BC. And this article is written by the Canadian Press. Prime Minister Mark Carney is announcing by-elections that will be held in August for 3 electoral districts in Ontario, Quebec, and BC. Constituents in Beaches, East York, Chicoutimi, and that's Chicoutimi, Leford, and that's FJORD, and North Vancouver, Calipano, will head up to the polls on August 31st. The Beaches East York seat in Ontario was vacated by Nate Erskine Smith, and that's Erskine, a former federal housing minister who intended to run for leader of the Ontario Liberal Party, but lost a provincial by-election nomination race, leaving his future plans unclear. Conservative MP Richard Martel, Martel, resigned from the Chicoutimi-Leford seat in Quebec after being appointed to the Senate of Canada. The North Vancouver Capilano seat in BC was vacated by former Liberal MP Jonathan Wilkinson, and that's Walkinson, who became Canada's ambassador to the European Union. The Liberal Party has confirmed nominees for each of the by-elections, and it's Tanveer Shanavaz, and that's TanveerShanawaz in Beaches, East York, Daniel Gobi, and that's Gobeil in Chicoutimi-Leford, and Braden Calley, and that's Braedencaley in North Vancouver, Calipano. And this report by the Canadian Press was first published July 26, 2026. Our next article is titled Boy, 10 years old, who nearly lost his feet to lawnmower, finishes Toronto Triathlon. And 4 years after a lawnmower accident nearly cost him both his legs, 10-year-old Austin Byers, Byres, crossed the finish line at the Super Tri Toronto on Sunday. Wow, that's cool. And this is written by Sandra Ezekwesili, and that's Ezekwesili of the Canadian Press. 4 years after a lawnmower accident nearly cost him both his legs, 10-year-old Austin Byers crossed the finish line at the Super Tri Toronto on Sunday. Byers ran the final stretch of the annual triathlon alongside Canadian Olympic triathlete Tyler Mislawchuk, and that's Mislawchuk, and members of the team from Toronto's Hospital for Sick Children that helped save both his legs and feet after the accident. It felt very good that I accomplished that, Austin said moments after finishing. I was looking forward to crossing the finish line with everyone else. In 2021, Austin suffered severe injuries to both legs and feet in the accident. He was airlifted to Sick Kids Hospital, where he faced serious complications, including the possibility of amputation, but doctors were able to save both of his feet. Austin said he was thankful for the help he got at the hospital. They helped me by reattaching my foot. Without them, I probably wouldn't be able to run or anything like that. I probably wouldn't even have my foot. Mislawchuk won the men's pro race earlier in the day, posting the fastest run to take the title in front of a home crowd. Slovakia's Suzana Michalukovi, and that's Suzanimichalikova, won the women's race in 59 minutes 34 seconds, with Canada's Kira Gupta Baltazar, and that's Gupta Baltazar, finishing third. Mislawchuk said running the final stretch with Austin afterwards was one of the highlights of his day. When I got approached about it, I wanted to be part of it as soon as they mentioned it, he said. I remember telling everyone around me, what a cool opportunity. Those don't come around all the time. Austin's parents and brother watched from behind the finish line as he came through. There was such pride in watching him and his smile and his positive attitude through the entire process. His mother, Erica Byers, said. His father, Kurt, and that's Kurt, Byers said, the family hopes Austin's example resonates beyond his own recovery. I'm really proud of Austin and all the perseverance that he showed us, and we really hope that he can show other kids that you can really do anything you can put your mind to, he said. Jack, Austin's brother, echoed the sentiment. I feel proud of him to show that he can do anything no matter how hard it is, he said. And this report by the Canadian Press was first published July 26, 2026. And you have been listening to a reading of articles and features from the July 27, 2026 issue of the Toronto Star. Your reader has been Judy, that's me, and it has been such a pleasure and such an honor to read to you. Thank you so much for listening. Take care of your amazing, wonderful selves and enjoy your day. Thank you so much.